I mean, the Bible loses all that he had ever worked for, including his kids and his flock and all that he had acquired in his lifetime. This is a story that most of us would relate to because life triggers us and life really tests us in so many ways that, we tend to move forward. And whenever we kind of move forward, there would be something that really holds us and pushes us back to the position in which we started in, or even a much far more worse, position and situation. And it is in the same light that this man comes and says, I know that God can do all things and that no purpose of his can be thwarted or rather stopped. So there is a lesson behind this story because this teaches us that sometimes we plan, but God decides. And that is such a crazy concept that we have to actually understand and realize that sometimes what we have planned in our hearts is not on the decision of God for our lives, and sometimes what we desire in our hearts is not on the plan of God for our lives. And this will then push us to understanding that it is always good to choose the will of God for our lives, because God says in his word that I know the plans I have for you, and these are plans not to harm you, these are plans not to kill you, these are plans not to torture you, not to torment you, even as the modern day church would even put this. But God says I have plans to prosper you and plans to give you a better hope in the future. Sometimes God can even remove things in our lives that we have built and worked so hard to establish, mainly because they are not in his plan for our lives. So whenever you go through a situation where you realize that what you've actually built for the longest time, be it relationships, friendships, assets, success, or anything of that regard, and you see yourself losing those things, understand that God is in the process of building something permanent and something of purpose in your life. And that is such a difficult lesson that all of us need to get to understand, and that's a very difficult place that we need to get to, a place of being able to trust and depend on the will of God for our lives as opposed to what we want to see for ourselves. And it is only then that we can get to say that for all things work together for good to them that love the Lord and are called to his purpose.